Please enter your moderator code or your participant code, followed by the pound sign. If you have difficulty entering your passcode, please hold for the next available operator. Welcome to the conference center. Please enter your moderator code or your participant code, followed by the pound sign.
Welcome to the context system. Please.
Hi, this is the conference operator. May I have your passcode, please? Hi, can you hear me?
I didn't. I was on the way. I do not, but we can share. Share. I don't need it all to myself.
Welcome to the conference center. Please enter your moderator code or your participant code, followed by the pound sign. If you have difficulty entering your passcode, please hold for the next available operator. Welcome to the conference center. Please enter your moderator code or your participant code, followed by the pound sign.
Okay. So, been here, okay. Both sides? I don't know, I don't see a nail hole. Got that right. I got that. Wait, we didn't get any water. Yes, nobody likes us. I say, nobody likes us. That's true. Maybe they figure if I don't have water, I'll talk less. Ah. Hey, girl.
Welcome to the conference center. Please enter your moderator code or your participant code, followed by the pound sign. If you have difficulty entering
Wow.
Your passcode has been confirmed. Please wait while you are joined to the conference.
Isn't it all, aren't they all over there? There we go. Wow. Yeah, I don't even know why it's there. It's not like that nobody uses anymore because it's so old, low tech. Yeah. We have 1 minute. And speaking.
Oh, yeah, and told me all about dating and signing.
2 minutes? Okay. She's a better skier than I am, I'm sure. Aww.
Daddy signed her up and
So are they still here or did they go back already?
Yeah, come on in, please. You can come in. Yes, ma'am.
He's on the phone. I'm impressed.
Hello.
Hello. Here. Hello.
Hi there. This is Dallas.
Call the meeting of November 8th, 2023 of the Public Service Commission of the State of Delaware to order. Before
we do the reading of the minutes. I do have two things I would like to do. We have a young lady who has been with us for 20 years, Klashana Marshall. Would you please come forward? Frame it and hang it in the living room. Take a picture real quick. And here's your pin. Thank you so very much. We appreciate you. And I have another one, but I don't see Mark. Oh, there he is, okay. Mark Lawrence, please. 15 years. There you go. And your pin. Thank you again, Mark. All right, and now we'll go back to the agenda. The reading of the meeting minutes. Does anybody have any questions or concerns? May I have a motion to adopt the minutes?
I move that
So
we adopt.
moved.
Chair Winslow moved. I'll second.
Thank you very much. Any questions on the motion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Chair Winslow?
Aye.
Thank you.
Aye.
We have a consent agenda. There are 5 items on the consent agenda. Would any of the commissioners like anything moved, or do you have questions on anything?
I move that we adopt the consent agenda as presented.
I second the motion.
We have a motion and a second to adopt the consent agenda as presented. Are there any questions? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Commissioner Winslow?
Aye.
All right, we have all of those. And now on to the regular agenda. Item number 1 is the matter of the application of Delmarva Power and Light for an increase in electric base rates and other miscellaneous tariff changes. Summer Pope, please.
Thank you, Madam Acting Chair and Commissioners. Summer Pope on behalf of the Commission. For Commission consideration today is proposed supplemental opinion and order number 10316, which was tabled from the last Commission meeting. As you recall, in March 2023, the Superior Court remanded the Commission's decision in Order 9953 regarding Delmarva's prepaid pension asset and other post-retirement employment benefits. Specifically, the court found that there was not substantial evidence. So on May 22nd, 2023, the Commission held a publicly noticed Commission meeting on the matter. No new evidence was presented to the Commission at that meeting. The Commission heard the positions of Delmarva and the DPA on that subject and voted to include PPA and rate base. So again, today in front of you is the supplemental opinion and order, which hopefully the Commission finds favorable in consideration of the Superior Court remand, and will favorably consider it. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Iori?
Thank you, Madam Acting Chair and Commissioners. I have had the opportunity to review the proposed form of order. I sent some rather higher level comments over to staff and was informed that basically, thank you for your comments. We're keeping the order the way it is. So I don't have anything to say about the order.
All right, that's all, the only 2 who show on my agenda. Would you like to?
Thank you, Brian Jordan for Delmarva Power and Light Company. I just want to thank both Summer and Gina for their participation on this and for the order. Thank you.
All right, do any of the commissioners have any questions?
Madam Chair, Acting Chair, I move that we adopt order number 10316 as submitted.
I second the motion.
Any questions on the motion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Chair Winslow?
Aye.
Right, I am abstaining because I did on the first. Okay, thank you. Number 2, the matter of the application of Artesian Water Company for an increase in water base rates. And we have, let's see, it says R.J. Skaggs.
Courtney Emerson, good
Okay.
afternoon. I'm not RJ.
Okay.
Much better represented.
Well, thank you. Good afternoon, Madam Chair and Commissioners, Madam Acting Chair and Commissioners. Also promoted you. I have here with me today Dave Spaked in case there's any questions. We are here today on matter 230601, seeking entry of proposed order 10326. On April 28th, we filed our application seeking approval of an increase in our water base rates. The application was based on a test period ending September 30th, 2023. The total amount of the increase in that application in annual distribution revenues requested was $17,541,260, or 23.84% over current distribution revenues. We have elected to forego implementing a portion of the proposed rate increase 60 days after the filing. On October 12th of this year, we filed the instant petition requesting approval to implement a portion of the proposed rate increase in the amount of $10,781,929, or 14.65%, on an interim basis and subject to refund upon the termination of 7 months from our April 28th filing date, pursuant to 26 Dull Code 306B. The proposed change would be effective with usage on and after November 28th, 2023. The DSIC rate will also be reset to 0 on that date. This would result in an increase to the average customer bill of approximately $3.50 per month. Under 26 Dull Code 306B, at the expiration of 7 months after the filing of an application for a rate increase, a public utility may implement its proposed rate increase on a temporary basis, subject to refund under bond with sureties, so long as the interim rate increase does not exceed 15% of its gross interstate operating revenues. The interim increase of $10,781,929 represents an overall increase of 14.65%, or 7.15% after resetting DSIC to 0, thus does not exceed the 15%. The interim rates would be effective 7 months after the initial filing, and the DSIC would be reset to 0. We respectfully request that the Commission approve by entering Order 10326, implementation of the interim rates with usage on and after November 28th, 2023, subject to refund with interest, and grant our request to accept our current financial condition and creditworthiness, our longstanding history with the state of Delaware, and our commitment to abide by any refund orders by the Commission to serve as sufficient surety to meet the bond requirements of 26 Dull Code 306B. We appreciate the efforts of DPA and staff in preparing and reviewing the order.
Madam Acting Chair, can we ask the chairman to please mute whatever device he's using so that we can strip the background announcements from the commission hearing?
Thank you, Commissioner.
And that was all I had. Thank you.
Do we have Mr. Geddes on the phone for staff?
Yes, Madam Acting Chair. Good afternoon, and members of the Commission. I have nothing to add to the presentation by the company's counsel. You also have staff memorandum dated November 1st, 2023, which outlines what Artesian is seeking, and asks your approval of this order. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Iori?
Thank you, Madam Acting Chair and Commissioners. The DPA does not oppose the proposed form of order. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any questions?
Madam Acting Chair, I just have a curious question. Mr. Spade, can you just, at a high level and summary, tell us what's really driving the substantial increase need for this rate? Do you have a microphone, by the way? That would be very helpful. Thank you.
That would probably be better. There's been a lot of investment made over the last year, year and a half. There's been a tremendous amount of investment made over the last 9 years. We've had the benefit of a rather stable financial period and able to do some refinancings that this commission has approved in the past. Well, with a recent uptick in interest rates, et cetera, and financial forecast, it's a time for resetting the rate, the base rate. We've had DSIC in place for quite a period of time now at 7.5%. That's maxed out. So we've done what we can to stay out of increasing base rates, but it's time to recognize all those plant and the spiraling costs that we've seen on the expense side. COVID kind of set some of our supply chains into a tither, shall we say, and chemicals, as well as purchase power. And I know Delmarva's sitting here and he'll slap me for it, but including our purchase power costs have gone up. So this is unfortunately the end result of some of that aftermath of COVID, where supply chains just haven't caught back up to what they were pre, and not sure they will, just because of gas and oil prices. So that's as scripted as I could make it.
Okay, thank you. One further clarifying question, one last further clarifying question. With this rate increase as you see it, does it include the scope of potable as well as wastewater activities for Artesian, or is this strictly potable water?
This is strictly potable. It's Artesian Water Company, Inc. Artesian Water Company, wastewater management company, would file a separate rate case as it relates to this. This is strictly potable water.
All right, thank you. I have no further questions, Madam Acting Chair.
Madam Acting Chair, I move that we adopt order number 10326.
I have a second.
I second.
Any questions on the motion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Chair Winslow?
Aye.
Thank you. Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you both. All right, and now we need Tricia Gannon.
Good afternoon, Madam Acting Chair and Commissioners.
Tricia?
It's that time of year again. So on Monday, November 6th, Delmarva staff, Commission staff, and the Commission's technical consultant, Liberty Consulting, monitored Tranche 1 of Delmarva's Standard Offer Service, or SOS auction. Here today representing Liberty is Jim Letzelter. Dr. Letzelter is a management consultant with over 30 years' experience in the electric power industry, including, as you will recall, previously serving as the Commission's technical consultant for 9 years from 2013 to 2021. Slide presentation can be found linked on the Commission's agenda for those who would like to follow along, and may be viewable on stream. At the end of the public presentation, staff would respectfully ask you to approve the bids. If you wish to review the actual bid results, the Commission can vote to go into executive session for a confidential presentation. Mr. Litzelter, all yours.
Good afternoon, Madam Acting Chair and Commissioners. It's great to see you all again. It's a bit of a homecoming. Well, thank you, Tricia. As Ms. Gannon mentioned, this Monday we did have an auction, and I'm pleased to say that it went fairly well, and I would start by saying it went better than last year. So that's the good news, and it's mostly good news. So starting with the executive summary, the 3 points are that the auction was well run, and it was run consistently with the RFP. It was highly competitive for some customer classes, but less so in others, but competitive overall. Participation and bid activity varied by customer class. It resulted in prices that were reasonably consistent with market conditions, especially when factoring in suppliers' risk premium requirements. And again, this varied by customer class as well. So just to go over our role as technical consultant, We reviewed the tasks and materials related to the supplier communication. We reviewed the prospective bidder website access and monitored their eligibility. We confirmed the fees paid to NLX. They run the platform upon which the auction is actually performed. And we developed a power market assessment and approved the opening prices in conjunction with NLX. And finally, we monitored the auction and confirmed the results. Just as an overview, and this is typical for a tranche 1, 4 blocks of risky at 53.8 megawatts apiece, 2 blocks of the MGS for 39 megawatts apiece, and 1 block each for LGS and GSP of 8.8 and 16.2 megawatts respectively. In total, 318 megawatts were procured. One of the things we like to look at in terms of participation is the number of bidders that show up and compare that to prior years. And so when you look at the furthest right column on this chart here, you can see that there were 16 EOIs, or expressions of interest, as compared to only 10 last year. We ended up with the same amount of eligible bidders, which is 7, and this year we actually had 6 bidders that came out to bid, as compared to only 4 last year, so that is an improvement. In terms of bid activity, on this slide, you'll see that on the furthest right column, for each class and block, as compared to tranche 1 of last year, there were more bids. And likewise, in the second and third columns, you can see, comparing 2023 to 2024's RFP, there were more actual bidders in each block as well. So that's positive. Some of the numbers are still low, but they're better. As I mentioned, we do a market assessment, and that is provided to staff ahead of time just to give us an idea that the market is good enough and it looks like we shouldn't have any issues. So the goal of that is to identify any adverse market conditions that could lead to a postponement, establish opening prices for the blocks for each class, and then review NLX's estimated range of winning prices for each block, which is getting harder and harder to do for them, by the way, but it's something we like to take a look at. Ultimately, we concluded that there were no adverse market conditions, particularly in light of what it was last year. It's much more stable. And when I say it, I'm talking about the energy market, wholesale energy market, in terms of power market forward prices, and that we concluded that the auctions should proceed as scheduled. To take a snapshot of how the markets have changed year over year, the black line represents the forward market prices of the following June, which is the commencement of delivery of the power that's auctioned for tranche 1. And the black line represents that from November of 2023. The red line is from this past Monday. And you can see that the red line, which is the most current forward price outlook, is much lower, especially in the first 12 months of this stream as compared to last year. So all told, the wholesale energy prices are 32% lower than last year when looking at just 1 year, which would be June of 2024 to May of 2025. And then when you look at the entire 2-year period, which will in fact reflect the risky class but not the MGS, LGS, and GSP classes, the energy prices were 19% lower than last year's prices. So that was a good sign. We also like to take a look at the gas market, and we try to do it over a 2-year delivery period, but we can only get really good outlook and forward prices for an adequate gas zone for the next 8 months. But just comparing 8 months versus 8 months from last year to this year, gas prices are 47% lower than last year's tranche one prices. And this is key because gas is what sets the margin, the fuel that sets the margin on generation within PJM. So you see that the tight correlation, which shows up in the next slide, which again, we don't have a long outlook for the gas we wanted to use, but there is a correlation in the limited time that we show, and that's consistent, and it shows the seasonality that we would normally expect. And just as someone who's in the markets every day, the markets are stable relative to last year and going forward. So it gave us a green light to go. Capacity prices year over year have changed a little bit, and this shows that the risky price, the price that affects risky, which is the average price of 2 years, is about the same because we rolled off of a high price to a low price, but we rolled off of one of the low prices to a high price because it's multi-year, and it worked out to be a very nominal change. Whereas the one-year prices from November of '22 versus this year, we saw a fairly substantial increase, not devastating increase, but from about $57 to $66 in terms of dollars per megawatt day, and that did have an impact to increase the prices that, when they get imputed into dollars per megawatt hour, will affect the MGS, LGS, and GSP prices. In conclusion, the market conditions indicated that Tranche 1 should proceed, and we did that, and the auctions were well run, and they were accomplished according to the requirements. The NLX platform, again, performed flawlessly. The auctions were reasonably competitive, although for certain classes we would like to see more competition in the future. And the auctions resulted in winning bids that were consistent with the outlook for regional energy and capacity markets, especially when you factor in the risk premium requirements of the suppliers. So we therefore recommend approving the winning bids. And if you have any questions, I'd be glad to answer.
Thank you so very much, Mr. Lidselter.
You're welcome.
Questions? Do any of the commissioners feel the need to go into executive session to discuss this?
No, Madam Acting Chair, Mr. Lidselter, welcome back again. Very nice presentation. Thanks for your support and guidance through this process. Very impressed with the way the market demonstrates its current pricing, and hopefully the trends will continue. Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion that we adopt the report and the information as provided by Mr. Lidselter.
I second the motion.
Questions on the motion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Chair Winslow?
Aye.
Thank you. Thank you so very much.
Welcome back.
Good stuff.
Thank you.
All right, and now we are on to the hearing schedule. In the matter of the provision of renewable energy portfolio standards compliance charge to retail customers. I lost the page. The service territory of Delmarva Power and Light for RPS year 2023-2024. We have Bryden Jordan from DP&L. No.
Your Honor, Dawn Kurtz-Crompton appearing on behalf of Delmarva Power and Light Company. May I proceed?
Certainly.
Thank you, and good afternoon, Madam Acting Chair and Commissioners. We are here today to address Delmarva's annual application for the Renewable Portfolio Standards, or RPS charge, for the period of June 1, 2023 through May 31, 2024. On March 30, 2023, Delmarva filed its annual RPS application, the purpose of which is to update the electric tariff rates for the RPS charge for the aforementioned period. Delmarva thanks the other parties for their efforts in this docket and thanks staff for preparing the proposed order and staff memo and for allowing Delmarva the opportunity to comment. Today, I intend to present Mr. Robert Cohen to my right as a witness to support Delmarva's RPS application, and we will ultimately ask that the Commission approve Order Number 10324 as submitted. Prior to offering Mr. Cohen, however, I do have the exhibit log. I've had an opportunity to confer with staff and DPA prior to this hearing, and I can represent that we have agreed to the contents of the exhibit log. I can hand it up, but I would ask, Madam Acting Chair, that this be moved into the record.
Any objections? Entered. No objections. Thank you, Ms. Crompton.
Thank you, Your Honor. And if I may, I'd like to have Mr. Cohen sworn in.
I do.
Great. Thank you, Ms. Diamore. Mr. Cohen, can you please state your name for the record?
Robert J. Cohen,
And by whom are you employed?
PHI Service Company, primarily on behalf of Delmarva Power. My business address is 500 North Wakefield Drive, Newark, Delaware, 19702.
And what is your capacity at Delmarva Power?
As a senior rate analyst,
And how long have you been in this position?
over 10 years in this specific position, but I've been with the family of companies for over 40 years, doing mostly utility accounting.
Mr. Cohen, can you please share a little bit about your educational background, please?
I hold a Bachelor of Science degree in accounting from the University of Delaware.
Great. And were you involved in the preparation of this RPS application?
Yes, I am primarily responsible for this filing.
And can you provide a little bit more detail as to the purpose of this filing?
The purpose of this filing is to revise the electric tariff rates for the Renewable Portfolio Standards, or RPS, charge for the period of June 1st, 2023 to May 31st, 2024. The revised rates include estimates for the projected period, plus prior period true-ups for over or under recovered balances.
And can you please explain what the components of the filing were?
The filing was composed of revised tariff sheets, RPS charge calculations, rate change percentages, and supporting work papers.
And was the methodology consistent with prior years?
Yes.
In connection with this application, did you schedule a meeting with PSC staff and DPA to review the documentation?
Yes, we held two technical conferences via video conference and later answered both formal and informal discovery questions.
And was notice of this application published as required by order number 10210, which was the opening order for this docket?
Yes, they were published on May 9th, 2023.
And were affidavits of publication filed with the Public Service Commission as well?
Yes, on May 17th, 2023.
And are the rates set forth in the application currently in effect?
Yes, these charge rates were put into effect on a temporary basis effective June 1st, 2023, as authorized by order number 10210.
And has staff determined that the commission should approve as final the rates that went into effect on a temporary basis on June 1?
Yes, Ms. Kane's memo dated November 1st, 2023, recommends that the rates be approved as final.
And can you please state what the bill impact will be for a typical residential customer as a result of this filing?
A typical residential customer using 840 kilowatt hours per month on average has seen a decrease of approximately $1.29 per month. To be clear, should the Commission elect to enter proposed order number 10324, the rates currently in effect will not change and will not decrease any further.
Thank you, Mr. Cohen. Do you have any further testimony at this time?
No.
Delmarva offers Mr. Cohen for cross-examination.
Staff doesn't have any cross. Thank you.
No questions.
And that concludes Delmarva's presentation. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you very much. Summer Pope, please.
Thank you, Madam Acting Chair. Summer Pope on behalf of staff. Staff has one witness, Ms. Samantha Kane, and I would ask that she be sworn in.
do.
Please state your name and address.
My name is Samantha Kane. My business address is 861 Silver Lake Boulevard, Suite 100, Dover, Delaware, 19904.
Who is your current employer and what is your position title?
I am employed by the Delaware Public Service Commission and as a public utility analyst.
What is your educational and professional background?
I have a bachelor's degree in economics from the University of Florida, and I have been an analyst with the commission for about 3 years.
And what was your role in docket number 230458?
I was the case manager for this proceeding.
What is this particular proceeding for?
On March 30th, 2023, Delmarva filed the application for approval of the 2023 RPS rate charge. According to the company's tariff, the rate went from 0.006411 per kilowatt hour to 0.004868 per kilowatt hour, a decrease of approximately 24%. As Delmarva explained in the filing and technical conference, the 24% decrease is due primarily to the sale of wind in the energy markets at a higher price than forecasted. The Commission approved the proposed rates on a temporary basis with proration, subject to refund, in order number 10210, dated April 26th, 2023.
Did you receive any public comments pertaining to this application?
Staff received no public comments.
What was the nature of your review?
I attended a technical conference with Delmarva Power and the DPA on May 8th, 2023, and a second conference on June 6th, 2023, to review the filing and submitted discovery questions for this conference. I reviewed calculations, invoices, and worksheets comprising the summation of the RPS rate.
What did you find as part of your analysis?
After reviewing the submitted documentation and the company's native files, I found no substantive errors.
What are your recommendations?
Staff respectfully recommends that the Commission approve as final the RPS charge rate that went into effect on a temporary basis on June 1st, 2023, with proration for the period from June 1st, 2023 to May 31st, 2024.
Do you believe that your recommendation will result in rates that are just and reasonable and in the public interest?
Yes, I do.
Does this conclude your testimony?
Yes, it does.
Thank you. Ms. Kane is available for cross-examination.
Any questions?
No questions.
Thank you. All right, and now it's Ms. Iori.
DPA does not have a witness. We did have an opportunity to review the proposed form of order and Ms. Kane's memo, and we do not have any problem with either. Thank you.
Thank you. And none of the commissioners have any further questions? All right, I will entertain a motion.
I move that we adopt the proposed order number 10325.
I second 324.
Yeah.
324.
10324.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. You're right. I'm just a little ahead. 10324.
I do second.
Any questions on the motion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Chair Winslow?
Aye.
Thank you.
Aye.
Motion passes. Ms. Crompton,
Thank you, Your Honor.
I understand that this is the last time we may see you here.
That is true, Your Honor, except we have one more hearing that you're going to have to hear from me about.
Oh, okay. Well, then I'll save my goodbye till then.
Thank you, Your Honor.
All right, and the next item on the agenda is the matter of request for approval of Delmarva Power and Light Company's 2023-2024 standard offer service rates, procurement cost adjustment, and RARM filing. And now this says Brian Jordan again, but it's Dawn Crompton.
Thank you, Madam Acting Chair. Dawn Kurtz-Crompton again on behalf of Delmarva Power and Light Company. This is Delmarva's annual application to establish standard offer service rates for the period of June 1, 2023 through May 31, 2024. This includes establishing tariff rates for SOS, as well as the procurement cost adjustment, which we will call PCA, as well as the reasonable allowance for retail margin components, also known as RARM. On March 30th, Delmarva filed its annual SOS PCA RARM application, the purpose of which is to update the tariff for these charges for the aforementioned period. Delmarva thanks the other parties for their efforts in this docket and thanks staff for preparing the proposed order and staff memo and for allowing Delmarva the opportunity to comment. Today, we again intend to present Mr. Cohen as our only witness to support this application, and we will ask the Commission to approve order number 10325, just double checking, as submitted. Again, I have some housekeeping that I'd like to address. I have an exhibit log here that, again, has been socialized with both staff and DPA, and I can represent to the Commission that we are all in agreement that it may be placed on the docket if acceptable with the Commission.
Any problem with that, Commissioners? Then the exhibit log is accepted.
Thank you, Your Honor. I would like to present Mr. Cohen as a witness. May he please be sworn in?
I do.
Mr. Cohen, can you please state your name for the record in this docket?
Robert J. Cohen,
And sir, by whom are you employed?
PHI Service Company, primarily on behalf of Delmarva Power. My business address is 500 North Wakefield Drive, Newark, Delaware, 19702.
And in what capacity are you employed by Delmarva Power?
Senior Rate Analyst.
How long have you been in this position?
Over 10 years in this specific position, but I've been with the family of companies for over 40 years, doing mostly utility accounting.
Can you please talk about your educational background?
I have a Bachelor of Science in Accounting from the University of Delaware.
And were you involved in preparing the SOS PCA RARM application for filing that was submitted on March 30 of this year?
Yes, I am primarily responsible for this filing.
And can you briefly explain the purpose of the SOS PCA RARM filing?
The purpose of this filing is to establish the electric standard offer service rates for the period of June 1st, 2023 to May 31st, 2024. This includes establishing tariff rates for standard offer service supply, which includes the procurement cost adjustment and the reasonable allowance for retail margin components. The revised rates include estimates for the projected period, plus prior period true-ups for any over or under recovered balances.
And what was this filing composed of, please?
The filing was composed of revised tariff sheets, PCA calculation, SOS supply rate calculation, bill impacts, RARM rate calculation, and supporting work papers.
And was the methodology consistent with prior years?
Yes.
In connection with this filing, did you host meetings with staff and DPA?
Yes, we held 2 technical conferences via video conference and later answered both formal and informal discovery questions.
Did staff or DPA propose any adjustments based on the documentation included in the filing?
No adjustments have been requested.
And was notice of this application published as required by Opening Order 10209?
Yes, the notice was published in 3 Delaware newspapers on May 16, 2023.
And were affidavits of publication filed with the Public Service Commission?
Yes, on May 31st, 2023.
And are the proposed rates currently in effect?
Yes, these charges were put into effect on a temporary basis effective June 1, 2023, as authorized by Order Number 10209.
And has staff determined that the commission should approve as final the rates that went into effect on a temporary basis on June 1?
Yes, as set forth in their memo dated November 1, 2023, staff recommends that the commission approve the temporary rates as final.
And can you please advise the commission about the bill impact to customers as a result of this filing?
A typical residential customer using 840 kilowatt hours per month on average has seen an increase of approximately $12.47 per month, which is a 9.91% increase when including the delivery and supply portions of the bill. To be clear, should the commission elect to enter proposed order number 10325, the rates currently in effect will not change and will not increase any further.
Does this conclude your testimony, Mr. Cohen?
Yes.
Delmarva offers Mr. Cohen for cross-examination.
No questions.
Commissioners? All right, then we have Ms. Pope again.
Thank you, Madam Acting Chair and Commissioners. Summer Pope on behalf of staff. Staff has one witness, Ms. Samantha Kane, and I would ask that she be sworn in.
I do.
Excuse me. Could you please state your name and address?
My name is Samantha Kane, and my business address is 861 Silver Lake Boulevard, Suite 100, Dover, Delaware, 19904.
Who is your current employer and what is your position title?
I am employed by the Delaware Public Service Commission as a public utilities analyst.
And what is your educational and professional background?
I have a bachelor's degree in economics from the University of Florida, and I have been an analyst with the commission for about 3 years.
Could you please describe the basis for this proceeding?
On March 30th, 2023, Delmarva filed an application for approval of the 2023 standard offer service rates, including the procurement cost adjustment, referred to as the PCA, and the reasonable allowance for retail margin, referred to as the RARM. According to the company's worksheet, the annual average monthly bill for a residential customer using 840 kilowatt hours would increase by approximately $12.47 or 9.91%. The Commission approved the proposed rates on a temporary basis with proration, subject to refund in order number 10209, dated April 26, 2023.
Thank you. Was the public notice properly published, and did you receive any comments pertaining to this application?
Yes. The notice was published on May 16, 2023 in the Delaware State News, the News Journal, and the Cape Gazette. Staff received no petitions for intervention, public comments, or objections before the June 23, 2023 deadline for this filing. The Delaware Division of the Public Advocate filed its statutory notice of intervention on April 3, 2023.
What was your role in this proceeding?
I served as case manager for this filing. I reviewed the procurement cost adjustment rate, or PCA, the standard offer service, or SOS fixed bid price component, and the reasonable allowance for retail margin, or RARM, in this filing.
And what was the nature of your review?
I reviewed the calculation and work papers related to the PCA for the period of January 2022 through December 2022. And audited 1 month of actuals. I also reviewed the SOS fixed price calculations and components of the winning tranche bids, as well as the forecasted megawatt hours to verify the full requirement cost per the summer and winter seasons, rate class, and forecasted billing requirements. I also reviewed the RARM native file calculations.
And what was your conclusion as to the company's calculations and its application?
I found no errors in the calculations of the PCA, RARM, or SOS fixed price components. The fixed price component of the rate is consistent with the winning bid prices that were reported by the Commission's former technical consultant, Siemens PTI.
And what are your recommendations to the Commission?
Because staff did not find any reason to recommend denial of cost recovery, I respectfully recommend that the Commission approve as final the rates that went into effect on a temporary basis on June 1st, 2023 to May 31st, 2024.
Thank you. And do you believe that your recommendation will result in rates that are just and reasonable and in the public interest?
Yes, staff found the rates and tariff changes to be consistent with previous orders, which were approved as being just and reasonable and in the public interest.
Does this conclude your testimony?
Yes, it does.
No further questions. Thank you. Ms. Kane is available for any cross-examination.
No questions.
Ms. Iori?
Thank you, Madam Acting Chair and Commissioners. The DPA does not have a witness for this matter either. We have had the opportunity to review the proposed form of order and Ms. Kane's memo, and we have no opposition to either. Thank you.
Commissioners?
Madam Acting Chair, I move that we adopt order number 10325.
I second it.
Any questions on the motion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Chair Winslow?
Aye.
Thank you. And now, thank you so very much for your service. We'll miss you, and good luck.
Congratulations and best wishes on your new
Thank you
position.
very much. I'll be still with the company, so
Yes.
you might not be entirely rid of me yet, but I will miss spending this time with you all. So thank you very much, Madam Acting Chair.
You're very welcome.
Much success.
All right, are there any members of the public who would like to make comment? There being none, we'll move on to administrative matters. Do you want to announce the 3 hearings?
Hello. Yes, there will be 3 hearings, Monday, the 13th, Tuesday, the 14th, and Wednesday, the 15th of November, for Delmarva Power and Light Company's energy efficiency programs for electric customers. And next, I will ask Ms. Gannon to come to the table and present you an update on the Mid-Atlantic Clean Hydrogen Hub project.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Chair and Commissioners. Chair Winslow asked me to attend a briefing on October 25th on the Regional Clean Hydrogen Hub. I will now walk you through the 90-minute presentation. Just kidding.
Thank you, but we...
This briefing was presented by the Office of Clean Energy Demonstrations, or OCED, which is part of the Department of Energy. The final presenter was a familiar face. Colin O'Mara, former Secretary of DENREC, is the chair of the Mach 2 Mid-Atlantic Regional Hydrogen Hub. OCED is giving out $25 billion in federal funds to clean energy projects that accelerate the deployment, adoption, and equitable transition to a decarbonized energy system. $8 billion is being split by the 7 hydrogen hubs. A regional hub is a network of hydrogen producers, consumers, and local infrastructure. Hubs match increased production with regional demand. These are the 7 hubs. California and Gulf Coast can receive up to $1.2 billion. Pacific Northwest and Midwest, $1 billion. Heartland and Appalachian, $925 million. And Mid-Atlantic, also known as Mach 2, can receive up to $750 million. They asked for $900 million, but it's still a big investment and a big win. A key component in OCED's program is prioritizing community benefits. Each hub must present a detailed community benefits plan that addresses community and labor engagement, diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility, investing in the American workforce, and Justice 40 initiative. This will help ensure broadly shared prosperity in the clean energy transition. OCED has detailed requirements for the community benefit plan. They must have actionable goals, outcomes, and implementation steps, and be supported by adequate money, people, and time resources. Must be accountable and transparent to the communities. Must have clear metrics to measure success. Match actions to the needs of the communities. Robustly address the 4 areas. Minimize negative impacts to community. Create quality jobs. Incorporate community and worker feedback, and have lasting and enforceable community and labor agreements. Selected hydrogen hub projects must continue to meet the requirements of each phase in OSID's implementation plan. OSID stated that we're currently in the negotiation phase. Their plan covers an 8 to 12-year period that starts with the next phase, the submission of the detailed plans, and ends with operations. However, the timeline that Mach 2 presents is much shorter. They say there will be an 18-month planning period. Mach 2 states they are positioned to address the community benefits. The first picture shows the project can benefit disadvantaged communities. There are several disadvantaged communities in the area selected. The second slide shows the area has significant air pollution, so improvement is needed. The third shows there is a network of producers, users, and infrastructure.
Pardon me, a question? On the previous slide, on this one. On the right side at the bottom, you have some bullets, and one that's purple says excluding something. Can you, my eyes are not good enough, sorry.
Neither are mine.
On 8?
Well, I have my glasses on today as well, but I think it's a shortened abbreviation of mechanical. Thank you.
What is hydrogen? Hydrogen is the simplest and most abundant element known. You might recognize it from the chemical formula for water. It can be made with renewable energy, nuclear energy, or fossil fuels with CCUS, which is carbon capture, utilization, and storage. It can be produced using different processes, and right now the U.S. produces 10 million metric tons of hydrogen each year. A 1 megawatt electrolyzer is the size of the trailer on a tractor-trailer truck. So Mach 2 is going to be a fossil fuel-free hub. Colors are used to show the fuels used to produce colorless hydrogen. By 2028, Mach 2 hopes to produce 174 million tons or metric tons of hydrogen a day, with 77% coming from solar or wind, 22% from nuclear, and 4% from biogas or biomethane. Projected demand is 315 metric tons a day. By 2034, the goal is to produce 271 metric tons of hydrogen a day, with a demand projected at 338 metric tons. So, as you can see, increasing production that much by 25 to 28 is well ahead of the 10-year plan that OSID is expecting. So why green and pink hydrogen for Mid-Atlantic? The goal is to use the cleanest renewable fuels to create the hydrogen while creating measurable community benefits. These fuels will reduce greenhouse gas and air pollutants. Mach 2 will create good union jobs in the clean energy industry, reduce emissions in sectors that have high pollution and are difficult to electrify, such as chemical manufacturing, steel, cement, and logistics plants, heavy-duty trucking, transit buses, ports, marine vessels, and aviation. That allows others to focus on electrification in sectors that make the most sense: residential, light-duty vehicles, and commercial buildings. It takes a village. Mach 2 will work with many partners to create the network of producers, users, and infrastructure, and to create the community benefits such as workforce training and job creation. Working on creating the workforce issues are labor unions and state workforce agencies. Colleges and universities are working on training the workforce and conducting research to make hydrogen a more efficient source of energy. At the April Commission meeting, Chesapeake Utilities spoke about their involvement. They may be able to use hydrogen in their existing system, adding it to gas, and they may use Safety Town to test hydrogen in Chesapeake's system and to train employees and first responders. This is a draft from Mr. O'Mara of potential parts of the hub which look like clusters of users and producers. So this portion shows southern Pennsylvania and New Jersey. And here's Delaware. Some of the potential players in Delaware include PBF Delaware City, SHIP, and Delaware Chesapeake Solar stepping up to produce hydrogen, Marlin Gas and Delaware City Pipelines transporting the hydrogen to consumers such as DuPont, as well as consumers in Pennsylvania and New Jersey, such as SEPTA and New Jersey Transit. And right now, that is a draft. They're still shoring up agreements and contracts with different companies. Mach 2 says they will create over 20,000 well-paying jobs in clean energy, including over 13,000 union construction jobs. Each project will be constructed under a project labor agreement. There will be job training opportunities, especially in historically underserved communities. Key workforce partners include universities and workforce agencies such as Del State, University of Delaware, and the Delaware Workforce Development Board. There are numerous resources to learn more, including OSID's website and the Mach 2 webpage. I'm sure that was not the last briefing that I will hear on hydrogen hubs, but that's what we know for now. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you for your 90-minute presentation.
I have maybe two questions.
Okay.
Not too difficult, I don't think, but what is the center or leadership, or where is the central hub for the initiative that this describes? Is there a physical location in what state, for example? Is it the Department of Energy?
No, what they're going to do is they're going to have, it's basically going to be structured, the Mach 2 program is going to be structured a lot like a company. They're going to have, let me find it. This is the 90-minute one. Okay. They're saying there's going to be a board of directors at the top, advisory committees for both the industry and for community
Is
activities.
that in here?
No.
Okay,
That's
I'm
what I
sorry.
didn't include,
So-
but I can give it to you.
Let me listen again. They're going to be what now?
There's going to be a board of directors overseeing the whole thing.
Yeah.
Up to 15 individuals that represent all 3 states. And the board of directors holds fiduciary responsibility for the organization and will manage the movement of money, approve bylaws, codes of conduct, and governance. They're going to have permanent committees that will oversee audit, compensation, and governance. They're also going to have 2 advisory committees. One is for industry and one is for community. They're going to advise the CEO executive team, the board of directors, on planning and execution. Then there's going to be a chief executive officer who will report to the board of directors. There's also going to be an HR and a DEIA director and an executive administrator. And then they're going to have 4 buckets of staff underneath them, and they're also going to be hiring consultants. So it's really going to be structured like a company.
Yeah. Well, the first thing that hits me, if I can just share a reaction, is that it's probably going to need some type of a structure like a PJM. you've got a transmission network to move hydrogen around the region. You've got pipelines to deploy, infrastructure to oversee. And the folks who are going to be using it are going to want to have a stake in some of the decision-making process. So it sounds like an enormous challenge, but, you know, it clearly is guided towards some significant goals. If they can achieve some of them, that would be great. Thanks for interpreting, making the presentation, and attending. I appreciate it.
Ms. Gannon, I have a question. You mentioned on slide 11 that, that the anticipated hydrogen fuel demand would increase significantly from, from 2028 through 2031 and beyond. What do those numbers mean in terms of what percentage of overall power? Did they mention that, or where did they get the figures when they determine what that is?
These are the goals of Mach 2 in terms of getting production facilities up and running. They haven't started to release data on production and usage in terms of specifics. But they did say that because this is a tri-state program, we don't know where those first production facilities are going to be. We don't know if PBF Energy is going to be up and running first. We don't know if it's going to be one of the Pennsylvania or New Jersey locations. So one of the things that I'm hoping to hear more about as they create their more detailed plans is when the parts in Delaware are going to become operational, because that probably will have an impact on some things like pipeline safety.
Thanks,
Ms.
Patricia.
Gannon? All right, and the next thing on the agenda, I will give you an update on the PATH project, or the Potomac Appalachian Transmission High Line. It was a proposed 290-mile, 765 kilovolt electric power transmission line. It was designed to provide power to from West Virginia to Maryland. The project was initially proposed in 2009, and it was ultimately canceled by PJM in 2011. And because of the way PJM allocates its costs, Delaware electric ratepayers would have borne some of the costs for the project had it been built. No utility plant was ever installed, but in advance of the project, the transmission companies had ordered and paid for steel and other plant engineering studies, land, and for some services whose nature was such as lobbying or otherwise was disputed. The Delaware PSC was one of the parties involved in the initial cost recovery protest at FERC. The cost recovery dispute has been adjudicated at FERC and the U.S. Court of Appeals over the last decade or so. As of 2020, two issues remain. One was disputing the ROE that the PATH transmission company should have been awarded. And the second was concerning the accuracy of PATH's FERC accounting and into which buckets, i.e. above or below the line, the expenses should be put into the FERC's uniform system of accounts. There was a settlement that was reached recently, and it will finally resolve the entire remaining case. Our FERC attorney, Bob Weishar, reviewed the proposed settlement, and a credit to customers of Delmarva will be reflected next year when they make their annual transmission filing. We only became aware of this issue a couple of weeks ago, and last week, Executive Director Hartigan authorized the signing on to the settlement agreement due to the due date following in between commission meetings. Given the length of the dispute, there is no one currently on staff who was involved in this proceeding. We had Mr. Farber involved. He retired in 2018. But if you have any issue or any questions, I'll be happy to research the issues and respond at another time to your questions.
Thank you.
Please just approve it.
The
This has been going on for more than 10 years.
I think both of us remember that one.
All three of us.
All three of us, okay.
Please just approve it.
We have signed on, yes. Okay, and that concludes my update. The next commission meeting will be on Wednesday, November 29th, and happy Turkey Day, happy Thanksgiving to everyone.
Happy Thanksgiving. Thank you. Meeting adjourned.